I was married in 1971, and now at the age of 68, I've been on my own for over 23 years. Difficult at times and feeling very lonely. I did have a couple of romantic dalliances, but they didn't work out, and it actually served to sort of destroy what little self-confidence I did have in myself. I decided I wasn't really a very good judge of character because I didn't seem to be able to choose the kind of people that were what I wanted or that I was what they wanted either. At one point, my confidence was so bad because I'd put on a lot of weight and was nearly 18 stone. And so I tended to hide myself away rather than looking for relationships. One of the hardest things for me as well was the fact that my husband had remarried, and they were both still within my same circle of friends, and I saw them both every week at church on a Sunday. So I found it difficult to get any kind of closure because there was no separation at all, even though we were divorced. Also at that time, finances were a big struggle for me, and I went through a stage where I just didn't know what each day was going to bring, and I worried and I fretted and really just made myself sick with worry. What I did find difficult to cope with as well was often if someone loses a spouse, if they become a widow or a widower, there's obviously an awful lot of empathy and sympathy for that person. But if someone is divorced, you don't get that same sort of comfort from your friends or the people that were around you, because they look at you as, well, it's your decision, it's something you've done. And that's not necessarily so, because when you're divorced, you have still lost a spouse, and you do need the strength and encouragement that family and friends can bring. There were so many things in those early days that I felt uncomfortable with. And during that time, someone suggested that I make a list of the things I'm grateful for. And I didn't think that was a very good idea, because I couldn't really think of that many. And then when I started, and I don't know, I ended up, the suggestion was 100. And I thought, no way, I'll be lucky if I get a dozen. But I ended up with 127 things or people or situations that I was grateful for. And that was a turning point for me. I realised I had a lot more going for me than I thought I had. Following that positive experience, 10 years ago approximately, I was introduced to a book called The Secret. It was written by a lady called Rhonda Byrne, and in that she emphasised the very great importance of having a positive mental attitude, an attitude of gratitude, if you like. And following on from the list I'd made, this really did make sense to me. Nothing sort of changed. I didn't become rich overnight instead of struggling, and I was still on my own. My circumstances didn't change, but my attitude certainly did. I became to realise that I could take control of how I felt. You know, you make up your mind how you're going to feel, whether you're going to feel miserable or whether you're going to feel upbeat, and this really made a difference to me. One of my hobbies has always been knitting. I knit the little smoothie hats for Age UK that go on the smoothie bottles. Now, Age UK donate 10p for every bottle they sell to Age UK, but when they have these smoothie hats on, they give 25 pence. So the more you can knit, obviously, the more the contribution is. And over the years, I've knit thousands of these. But I had to be careful because I could only buy the wool and the pom-poms, whatever was needed, when I had an extra pension in the month or an extra benefit. But then I joined a choir called Linskill Community Choir, and shortly after being in there, the leader announced that I was looking for wool and asked for donations, and shortly after I came home with 9 carrier bags absolutely stuffed with just what I needed, all the double knitting wool. And this has been wonderful. Now I don't have to worry about the money to buy them. I can knit until my heart's content. So yes, my circumstances haven't changed. I'm still on my own. And do I feel lonely at times? Well, yes, of course I do. But I don't let it get to me the way I used to. I can quite honestly say life is good. I've made a good home for myself. I have a good life with grandchildren and the choir and my knitting. I think I'm quite a socialising kind of person and I get on well with people. So, yes, I'm still in the same flat. I'm still struggling financially, but I'm happy. I'm really happy because I've been able to apply these things that I've learned to adapt an attitude of gratitude, and life is good. When I was asked to put this story together, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I thought it might open up all the old wounds and it might drag me down. I might start to feel depressed again. But I realised that as I went through the story, that wasn't the case at all. It was really quite therapeutic. And I realised finally that I was getting the closure that I needed. In doing this article, I was able to put behind me once and for all the bitterness and the sadness and recognise that I'm not that person anymore. I've moved on.